So today I wanted to talk about yield because one of the permaculture principles is to obtain a yield. And I think sometimes that can be quite a rigid idea that a yield is something edible. So just to demonstrate, these delicious chilies, very, very hot, very spicy, just like I like them. They are obviously a yield. And they came from just planting seeds from a supermarket chili, and ta-da! So that's a really good example of a yield, but it's absolutely not the only example. So you can see behind me that the forest is pretty wild. There's quite a lot of growth going on. We've had loads of rain, so the gardeners responded by just pew, which is fantastic. And the yield that I'm really looking forward to harvesting is all of the top growth, all of the stuff that's growing up into the paths, the bits and pieces that perhaps are stopping other plants from growing as well as they might do. And so I'll be going along with my secateurs and chopping things down here and there, just basically mimicking what happens when animals move their way through a forest. They'll nibble things, take things out, kick things over, or when a storm comes and blows things down. And so I'm just going to mimic what nature does normally and naturally. And then I'm going to follow the other permaculture principle with my newfound harvest of all of that biomass. And I'm going to apply produce no waste, because put your hands up if this sounds familiar. Can you tell I was a teacher at one point? I used to do this. I used to fill up bags and bags and bags of stuff. Used to take it to the tip in the car, come home from the tip. Then I'd go to the garden centre and I'd buy loads and loads of bags of compost and put it on the garden. Yeah, now I see that actually what I was doing was not using what I was being given. So now all the stuff that just gets chop, 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 it just goes straight down onto the ground. And the idea behind that is that I'm going to be growing soil from that. I don't need to produce any waste for somebody else to deal with at a tip. And I don't need to go and buy compost, usually in plastic bags, let's face it. I don't need to use petrol or fuel of any sort to get to those places to do those things. I just chop and drop. And then over time, that thick layer of mulch, which is holding in moisture, which is holding the temperature more stable in the soil itself. And over time, it just rots down and forms compost right where it's needed. So actually, it's a win-win all around. So that's a couple of things to think about. First of all, when you're picking up all of these weeds, they're not weeds, they're your harvest, because that's what you're being given to grow your soil. And then produce no waste, just drop it on the soil where you can, and that will do its job. And I'll show you one day, can't today, but I'll show you another day, the dramatic impact that's had on the soil here, because it really has transformed it from something that I couldn't get a trowel into to now something rich and friable. So that's for another time. I hope you've enjoyed today and found out something new, perhaps a different perspective on how to look at those things. And I'd really love to know if there are any things that you'd like to hear about in future videos, because I'm going to try and do them more often. Okay, have a great day. Bye.